Hej och välkomna till NYFIKENPODDEN med mig, Emma Bergqvist.
Och med mig, Marie-Louise Nilsson.
Och vi sitter inte tillsammans som vi faktiskt brukar göra när vi spelar in den här. För var är du någonstans?
Nej, men jag befinner mig ju i Göteborg, centrala Göteborg. Och du befinner dig i?
Uppsala gör jag. Och vi har ju haft ett jättespännande poddavsnitt framför oss. Vi har haft ett samtal med man kan ju kalla honom ändå legendar, tycker jag.
Det får man göra. Det är ju, vi har ju förmånen att få ha pratat med Nicky Gumbel precis. Nicky är ju Alfas pionjär, var den som tog sig an kursen, utvecklade den. Han har varit kyrkoherde i HTB, Holy Trinity Brompton i London. Den kyrkan, det kommer ni få höra lite om. Under många år och är idag, han gick i pension, får man säga så?
Inom citationstecken.
Situationstecken. Nu för, jag tror det var 2 år sedan, så lämnade han över till Sam och Archie Coates, som nu är de som leder HTB idag och har fullt fokus på att få ut alfa till alla i vår värld. Han har siktat in sig på 2033 och fått med oss alla in i den visionen, får man väl säga. Han gift med Pippa sedan många år tillbaka, har 3 barn och 10 barnbarn fick vi reda på under podden här nu.
Det var ju ett härligt samtal. Vi har valt att göra 2 delar av den här intervjun. Så den första delen släpps nu i det här avsnittet då. Och den andra delen kommer redan nästa vecka. Så man behöver inte ens vänta de vanliga 2 veckorna på ett nytt avsnitt, utan bara 1 vecka tills nästa del. Så det känns jättekul. Det var ju mycket som sades. Har du något sånt från det som sades i den här första delen som stack ut, som du tyckte var bra?
Det var mycket som sades. Vi sa det, det är ett ställe där jag bara snurrar in mig och tappar ett ord och det låter jätteroligt. Så jag tänker att det är lika bra att bara säga det rakt ut. Och, vi vill ju att den här podden ska vara verkligen ärlig, nära och äkta. Och jag kände efteråt att bara, nej, vad säger jag? Men då är jag bara så här, skit i det. Vet du vad? Ja. Jag bjuder på det, och att förhoppningsvis så kan någon annan slappna av genom att höra mina misstag och mina stapplande ord. Så. 100%. Vi bjuder.
Vi kan väl lotta ut någonting till om det är någon som hör det och kan skicka exakt tidskod, så kan man vinna någonting.
Ja, det kan man göra. Då får man en keps ifrån oss där det står Alpha Youth. Men jag tycker att, och nu vet jag att en del sitter och bara säger, nej, man ska aldrig avslöja sina misstag. Ja, eller så bjuder man på dem. Så jobbar jag mer. I alla fall, det här samtalet, där var jättemycket, man kan alltid lära sig någonting utav honom, tycker jag, Nicky. Och framförallt så är det ju att han lever ju som han lär. Det här är ju en ledare som vi har fått se på nära håll, både du och jag, Emma, under många års tid. Och han har ju en ödmjukhet. Han är ju en global ledare, får ju verkligen influera stora delar utav den världsvida kyrkan, samtidigt som han har ett så stort fokus på människan som han har framför sig och på den ende. Och ganska i början utav samtalet så kommer där när han pratar om hur nå den enda, att se den ende framför sig. Hur kan du växa som ledare? Ja, men då lyfter han att allting handlar om att ge Jesus vidare till den människa som du har framför dig. Så. Och det är bara en sån här ledarskapsnyckel som jag tycker jag har lärt mig jättemycket från honom. Just den ödmjukheten, men också att se människor. Och att då, som han kopplade till att vara med i en samtalsgrupp på Alfa, som han fortfarande är, och sitter liksom och finns med varje vecka och lyssnar på människor som ännu inte har hittat Jesus och har massa frågor. Och jag tror faktiskt att det är det som gör att han är så fräsch fortfarande i huvudet, i hjärtat, i visionen, i vem han är som ledare. Och du då, vad fick du med dig?
Men det var ju, som du säger, han har en förmåga att prata väldigt självklart tycker jag. Alltså det är som att man lyssnar på honom och är så här, ja, så här, det här var hjälpsamt, både så här visionärt men också praktiska tips. Så det som stack ut för mig var att han pratar en stund om det här med typ karaktär i ledarskap och särskilt utifrån vad vi liksom står i världen just nu och vad behöver vi som ledare hur ska man se på sin karaktär och vad är viktigt att bygga sin karaktär av, eller vad man ska säga. Och då lyfter han fram väldigt, tyckte jag, praktiska saker på att tappa inte bort det här, se till att du liksom får tid för det här och det här och det här. Jag vill inte avslöja vad han sa.
Nej, just det.
Men så kanske också särskilt om man sitter och lyssnar och är alltså man har precis börjat sin ledarresa och är ny i sin resa, eller att man kanske känner att man har så mycket på sina axlar att man kanske leder stora arbeten där det alltid finns behov och brister och där man kanske känner sig väldigt liten. Att på något sätt så lyckas han sätta fingret, tror jag, på några så kärngrejer och nyckelgrejer som jag tror kommer välsigna många och vara till hjälp för många som lyssnar. Det var det för mig, så tänker jag.
Precis. Det kommer ju lite, han droppar ju lite namn här under tiden när vi pratar. Och jag tänker, vi ville bara ge lite info om det. För det kan vara svårt att man bara säger, vad är det för människor? Han nämner bland annat Sandy och Sandy Miller. Precis, Sandy och Annette Miller. Sandy var kyrkoherden i HTB, den tidigare kyrkoherden i HTB och var den som fångade upp Nicky Gumbel. Han har varit kyrkoherde i 20 års tid och Nicky jobbade under honom och lärde sig jättemycket av honom. Det var han som startade igång, kan man säga, hela förnyelsen i den församlingen. Och han nämner också Nicky och Silla Lee som är vänner som de har haft sedan länge tillbaka. Nicky och Silla är idag att pionjär, de har utvecklat äktenskapskursen och förlovade-kursen som vi också har. Och de är några som har stått i tjänst både som pastorer och präster i HTB tillsammans med Nicky och Pippa, men också idag så har de hand om hela våra relationskurser. Och sen nämns Jeremy Jennings som är en legend inom HTB. Det var han som drog igång och jobbat med hela bönerörelsen i församlingen och startat upp deras bönerum. Väldigt stark bedjare, härlig man. Och sen också nämns Trisha Neal som är the president av Alpha International och hon, en liten komisk historia med henne. Hon blev anställd av Nicky när allting började växa kring alfakurserna och det började växa så att andra också församlingar och internationellt ville köra igång alfa. Då insåg Nicky att jag kan inte svara på alla dessa telefonsamtal, vi måste bygga upp någon organisation kring det här. Får tag på Trisha Neal som kommer från företagsvärlden, anställer henne, målar upp liksom värsta, det här är verkligen en fantastisk organisation och det är globalt och vi ska och så vidare. Och hon har själv berättat om att hon kommer måndag morgon och bestämt med Nicky och bara kommer in på HTB och är bara så här, hej, nu är jag här. Och det är nästan som om Nicky bara, ja just det, nu är du här. Och hon bara, och var i mitt kontor? Jag vet inte, vi har inget kontor, här är en skrubb som du kan sitta i så länge och där hon får själv ta med och du får hitta något skrivbord någonstans och hon drar något bord ifrån någon källare i kyrkan och sätter upp liksom. Och det är så som Alpha International liksom börjar och tar sitt startskott och hon har varit med från början och bara utveckla den här organisationen till vad det är idag och kom ju då ifrån ett högavlönat jobb, business liksom. Så, men kände verkligen en kallelse från henne. Så hon nämns också som han name-droppar här, så blir det lite lättare för folk att hänga med i det han säger. Ja, men du, Emma,
Ja.
nu är det
Ja.
inte så att folk vill lyssna på oss, utan det finns ju många andra avsnitt att lyssna på oss när vi pratar. Så nu är det väl att vi helt enkelt hoppar rakt in till samtalet med Nicky Gumbel. So we are so happy to be able to join a conversation today with Nicky Gumbel. I don't think he needs an introduction. He hardly needs an introduction, but he's the pioneer of Alpha, the former vicar of HTB, Holy Trinity Brompton in London. And he's a voice of influence for many leaders around the world. But maybe most important, he is the husband of Pippa. For how many years, Nicky? How many years?
It's coming up for 48 years.
Wonderful,
Whoa.
Wonderful, brilliant. And you're the father of 3 children. And you,
yes.
And you have how many grandchildren now?
10 grandchildren.
10.
Whoa.
Wow.
10 grandchildren, yeah.
Well, what a blessing. Well, we are so thankful that you were able to join us today and take the time. I know that you're so busy. I think you're in the middle of filming or writing for the new Alpha film series, right?
Yes, we've started filming now for the new Alpha film series.
Yeah. And how are things going?
Really good. We got a great team. It's a lot of fun doing it. And we're really enjoying it.
Yeah, we're looking so much forward to see it. We have just launched the new Alpha Youth film series, right, Emma?
Yes.
And how's that going?
So well. I'm overwhelmed. We've never had this many Alpha Youth courses ever. So we're just watching God doing things in our country. So it's a blessing. So the new Alpha Youth series has been a true blessing to our country. And I know many churches and youth groups and youth leaders feel that this is really something that has sort of had a good timing in where we are as a nation, Christians in this nation. So we're so grateful.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and we are all looking, I mean, we are heading up for and working for the vision for 2033. Would you just share something about that? About that vision?
Yeah, the vision for 2033 is that the 17th of April, 2033, as I'm sure all your listeners and viewers know, is the Easter Day, 2033, and therefore it is the 2000th anniversary of the resurrection of Jesus. And the vision is that by the 2000th anniversary of the resurrection, the Great Commission, that everyone on the planet will have heard the good news about Jesus. And so we're all working together. The Bible translators are trying to get the New Testament into practically every language in the world by that date. Rick Warren is working on a Bible, a believer, a body of Christ in every community. And we at Alpha are working on making Alpha available to everyone on the planet by that date. So we have done a Chinese film series that is 100% Chinese hosts, Chinese testimonies, filmed in China, directed in China. We're doing one for Africa. We're doing one for the Middle East, for India. Now, if you take those countries together, 1.5 billion in China, 1.5 billion in India, 1.2 in Africa, and 0.5 in the Middle East. That's 4.7 billion who will have it in their own heart language. It's not just dubbing, or this is speakers that they will are from Africa, from India, from Middle East, so that they'll hear it from people who look like them in their own heart language, without the need for dubbing or anything like that. So that's 4.7 billion. And then the new film series, which we started filming on Monday, or at least my part started filming on Monday. They've been doing other things before that, will be for 1 billion English-speaking people. And we include Sweden as English-speaking because everyone in Sweden I've ever met speaks English better than I do. So it's for America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and UK, and so on. So that will be 5.7 billion. And then we have 16 editing studios now built in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, which will be for the contextualization into the other different languages. Not everyone wants 100% like China. Some people want less. Latin America want the teaching done from here, but they want the testimonies and the hosts from Latin America. So that's what we're going to be doing. Plus, the youth series is also going to be contextualized into all the different languages, for all the different countries. So that's the vision.
Yeah.
And it's a sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, just to say, it's amazing what's happening, because last year we had by far the most number of people doing Alpha, 2.16 million. And this year it's looking like we're going to hit 3 million. So that rate of growth is now the rate of growth that will be needed to reach everyone on the planet by 2033.
Yeah.
It's a multiplication.
Yeah. And we are all in, okay? Sweden is
You're
all
amazing.
in. Yeah, we're all in.
What you're doing in Sweden is fantastic, and you've seen a remarkable growth, haven't you, in the last year?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, by God's grace. We're so grateful. But in all of this, Nicky, what is driving you? Why are you doing this? What the vision around 2033? What's in your heart?
Well, I was not brought up as a Christian. My father was escaped from the Holocaust, thankfully, but he was Jewish, German Jew, secular Jew, and an agnostic, free thinker. My mother didn't go to church, so I wasn't brought up with faith in Jesus. And I became an atheist. But then at the age of 18, I read the New Testament and I encountered Jesus. And I found it was true. Jesus said, I came that you might have life, and life in all its fullness. Well, if you discover that, surely you want everybody to know about that. It's like, why wouldn't you want? I just couldn't think of anything more important to tell people. It's like the greatest injustice in the world. There's so many injustices in the world, but the greatest injustice would be to go through the whole of your life and never to have heard about Jesus. And the greatest act of love is to introduce someone to Jesus. So really, since then, the last 52 years, I've been doing what I can to tell people, look, this is good news. Yeah. And I think we sort of stumbled on Alpha, because I guess what I was trying to find was it is good news. The gospel means good news. But how can we bring that to people in a good way? And what I stumbled on Alpha, I found this was a good way to introduce people to the good news. Yeah. And then it kind of grew. And it, first of all, at our own local church, we didn't think it would go any wider than our own local church. When we started to get about 300 people coming on each course, other churches got interested. And then we put on a conference and 1,000 church leaders turned up to that. And I thought that was it. We've told everybody. But then they said, would you come to Sweden? Would you come to Africa? Would you come to America? And so it spread now to, I think, to every country in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when talking about growth and that we want to see so many more people hear about Jesus and churches that grow, you've led through seasons of rapid growth and great change. How do you stay, as a leader, how do you stay grounded and how do you stay humble in that process? What has helped you the most through the years?
For me, it's all about the Alpha small group. And so what I'm looking forward to most is next Tuesday, because we will start our 105th Alpha small group. We did 96 at HTB, and then we've done 1 or 2 online. We've done 1 or 2 at our local church, and we've done 1 or 2 in our home, because I wanted to experience, after I left HTB, I wanted to experience it in different contexts. So this Tuesday, we will run it in our home, and we have people coming, I think, from aged 18 to 82. The 82-year-old. So someone came on our course. She had been, I think she was doing something like the film crew for Bear when he climbed Mount Everest.
Wow.
And she, she'd seen Bear Grylls' faith, and she wanted to come and explore. And she came about 15 years ago, came on Alpha. And then during lockdown, her husband came on Alpha. And this time she wants her mother to do it. So her mum is aged 82, and she's coming because she can park outside our house. She might not go if it was harder to park.
Yeah.
So, and then we were talking to someone in our local church where we go on Sunday, and she said, "Oh, I really want my 18-year-old son to come. Would you have him in your small group?" So we said, "Absolutely love to."
Yeah.
Now, who knows who'll turn up, but I think we've got about 12 people who've been invited and who've said they want to come next Tuesday. So I think it's just, for me, it's all about the one person. It's not about it's great that 35 million people have done it, but really I'm interested in the one who's, the group that's here, and we focus on them. And then, hopefully, I want to know it still works. We've done 104 courses and it was still working on the 104th course, but I need to know that it still works in September 2025.
Yeah.
But what we're finding is it's working even better now than ever. I think it's a very interesting time in the world right now, because I think the world is shaking. It's, if you look around the world, Europe is shaking. I mean, you're not that far from Russia, but Putin is flying drones over Poland. It's kind of I don't think the world has been as unstable as this since the 1930s. You've got the Middle East is shaking, Gaza, the bombing of Qatar, that is shaking the Middle East. America is shaking, the murder of Charlie Kirk. There's a huge amount of conflict now there. China, Taiwan, President Xi meeting with Modi and the head of North Korea. So globally it's shaking, but also individually, individual lives are shaking because of AI, for example. Young people are thinking, will I get a job? 5 years ago, well, if I'm going to get a job, I better do coding. Now, that's pretty, there's not going to be any need for coders. It's a completely different world we're moving into. And so people are saying, I think young people are saying, what am I going to do? And some young people are, it's like social media. I'm completely gripped. They're like 12 hours a day on their phone. And that's leading to anxiety, depression, isolation. And other young people are seeing that and saying, I'm coming off social media. I'm going to take all those apps off my phone. I'm not even going to look at the news. I'm just going to put my head in the sand. So, and then others are saying, well, what's the point of life? Is it about health and well-being? There's a huge growth in health and well-being. People are saying, how can I live forever? Can I get body transplants? Other people, it's spirituality. Like, let's get into yoga. Let's get into magic mushrooms. All these things they're exploring. I see this amongst my friends who I swim with at Serpentine, all these different ways in which people are searching. And at the same time, there's this interesting return to Christianity. Here we talk about the quiet revival that's happening, but I think this is a global phenomenon that people are turning to Christ. My daughter gets a thing called The Knowledge, which is a sort of summary of the news, and it's an email that you can get regularly. And the latest one that came through, she showed me, it said what people are searching for. Now, the things people really care about and want are, number one, secure borders, number two, free speech, and number three, a return to Christianity. Now, that might not be totally healthy, the reasons why they want it, but I think it's a reaction against, they're looking at other religions and thinking, is that what we want? They're looking at atheism and thinking, is that what we want? And maybe let's relook at Christianity. Their parents were atheists, so they're kind of almost rebelling against that and saying, let's have a look at Christianity. So I think this is a really amazing time. HTB last Sunday, it's only the 15th, it was only about the 15th of September. Normally the HTB doesn't really fill up till October, November, but they were so full, not only the church building, not only the church sanctuary, but the whole building. All the overflow rooms were full. They practically had to close the church. Now they don't know what to do because next Sunday there are bound to be more people. So it's something amazing's happening.
So as a leader in all this, I mean, you mentioned the world shaking right now in so many ways. If you're a Christian leader and you sort of need to balance your own feelings, because of course, as a human being, you can have feelings yourself about what is happening. How do you, like, about your character? What do you feel right now being a leader? Like, what character do you need to have in all this? Where should you put your gaze? I mean, of course, on Jesus, but
yeah. Well, I think I think the theme of the next leadership conference at the Royal Albert Hall is going to be unshakable kingdom.
Good.
Because God has given us an unshakable kingdom, and Jesus is the rock. Jesus said, "On this rock I will build my church." Now, at one level, he may have been talking to Peter, but another level, he's talking about himself. He is the rock. He's the cornerstone on which the whole church is built. And he's the rock in our own personal lives. So the key thing is to stay close to Jesus. So for myself, this Bible in 1 year I have, and every day I start the day by reading, just looking at the page it's open at, which is the one I'll be reading tomorrow. Your servant will meditate on your decrees. Your statutes are my delight. They are my counselors. I mean, I just literally looked at that. I wasn't, that's the Bible. Yeah, the Bible is our spiritual food and a way of connecting, because the most important thing for anyone, whether you're a leader, whoever you are, is your relationship with God, with Jesus. And all relationships thrive on communication, whether it's a marriage or a friendship or with your children or your parents. It all thrives on communication. What is communication? It's talking, it's listening. And it's more important to listen to God than to speak to him. And the main way we listen to God is through the Bible. So for me, I like to start the day on my knees in this room, at the back of the room there, reading the Bible and praying that God will speak to me through the Bible. And I find every day there's something in it that strikes me. And I think, wow, that is so relevant today I read about how to live in order to please God. I think, wow, that's amazing. We can please God. Lord, today I want to try and please you. It's listening to the word of God. So Jesus said, go into your room, shut the door, and you communicate with your Father on your own. But also Jesus went up onto the mountain to pray. Now, we don't have mountains in London, but we do have parks.
Yeah.
So this morning I walked around Hyde Park and I tried to pray. I don't know how successful I was. There are lots of distractions in Hyde Park, but I want to sort of give that time to at least try and pray, try to communicate with God, try and pray about the day ahead. So I think that's the number one thing, is to stay close to Jesus. Second thing is to have a group of people around you who can pray for you, encourage you, where you can talk to them. So every Monday morning between 10 and 11, Pippa and I meet with Sandy and Annette Miller, who are now 85, Nicky and Silla Lee, who run the marriage course. Sandy and Annette, of course, were the vicars. They led HTB for 20 years, and I worked for him for 19 of those years. And then Jeremy Jennings, who heads up prayer, Trisha Neal, who's the newcomer to the group, as the president of Alpha. She's only been involved since 1994, so she's only had 31 years. But they're people that we can talk about anything. We can talk about our children if they're having difficulties. We pray at the moment. We're particularly praying for three children, actually, three of the, not our own children, but children of our friends who have got major health issues, but wouldn't want necessarily for that to be known publicly. It's a sort of place where you can pray privately for that kind of thing. And then if, whatever, I go to advice. I go, Sandy still gives us great advice. All of the people in that group have given me advice and supported me over the years. So they don't have to be as old as that for you to have a group, but we've been together most of us have been together for over 50 years. So it's having people around who will encourage and support you, a small group of some kind. And then I think being actively involved in service. So, that's why to me, it's really important to be in an Alpha small group, because you're actually hearing what people outside the church think, and you're involved in mission. And I think that you've got to be, you can't be messing around if you want to, the Lord, if you want to reach people, hopefully we have to live lives that they find attractive. We have to try to develop the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, kindness, patience, all those things. Otherwise, nobody's going to be interested. So, I just say those three things off the top of my head, where, stay close to Jesus, have a group of friends, and keep involved in serving the Lord.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
if you are a young leader starting off, as in ministry, this would be the advice that you would give to them to build character.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it comes from relationship with Jesus. It comes from it rubs off. Character rubs off.
Yeah.
If you meet with people who are people of good character, you want to emulate them. You want to become like them. I look at Sandy and Annette, and I think I want to be like them. Yeah. I look at they're 15 years on from me, and I think, if in 15 years' time I'm like them, if I'm still alive in 15 years' time, if I'm like them, I will be. If I'm like Nicky and Scylla, if I have a marriage like them, if I bring up my children like them, if I have the relationship that they have with their grandchildren, same with Millie and Jeremy. And I look at Trish and the way that she has served in a different way as a single woman. She is remarkable, and how she serves the Lord, and has continued to do that. They inspire me, and I think you want to be with. The book of Proverbs says, "Iron sharpens iron. One person sharpens another."
Yeah.
You want to be around people who you really admire, and you want to be like them, and spend time with people that you want to become like them.
Exactly.
I think that's important, and I think being involved on the front line. I think if you sort of stop serving, it's very easy to become slack, not feel it matters. But when you're on the front line, when you're serving the Lord, you have to stay connected with him.
Yeah, and I always encourage like my colleagues, my colleagues that are also preachers and pastors, to stay connected in a small group in Alpha, because I often wonder, how would our sermons change if we were actively engaged with people that are not yet Christians everyday life. In everyday life, or in an Alpha small group. I mean, for me, it's really important to be there and just to listen to, because it changed my prayer life, how I read the Bible, and what I preach about. So, and
exactly. You're absolutely right, Mary Louise. It's because then you can aim your talks at the people in your small group, even if they're not in the room.
Yeah.
Because on Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever it was you had your Alpha small group.
Thursday.
You heard. Sorry? Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday. On Thursday, when you had your Alpha small group, you heard that Laura had just broken up with her boyfriend and was finding it hard to forgive her boyfriend. You heard that somebody had had an accident and was suffering a lot of pain. You heard that someone was an alcoholic and really struggling with addiction.
Yeah.
You heard that someone's marriage was in trouble. And you are addressing those needs because it's not a theoretical thing. It's people you actually are talking to every week.
Yes. Yeah. And Jesus is alive and real and are really changing life. So I just want to go back to a little bit around leadership and leadership in the church. If you would to address a young leader that are stepping into leadership and are maybe as a pastor or a youth leader or in a new ministry role, I mean, there's often a pressure, I would say, from day one when you're stepping into that role. How have you been handling that pressure over time? And do you have any advice to that young leader?
Well, if I can come at it from a slightly different angle, I have never considered myself a leader. I don't. Sandy would never considered himself a leader.
Why?
I remember
Why?
I remember we went to a conference one time.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of leaders conference. And I think there were about 5,000 people at the conference. And someone called people forward, all the leaders, to come to the front to be prayed for. And I was sitting next to Sandy. And I said, Sandy, they're calling forward. He was the vicar of HDB. They're calling forward leaders. He said, I'm not a leader. So for Sandy, there's only ever been one leader, and that's Jesus. And possibly Alexander the Great, possibly Winston Churchill. But he's never considered himself a leader. And actually, if you look at the authorized version, I think the word leader is only used about 4 times in the whole Bible. The word servant is used hundreds of times. And I think Paul never describes himself as a leader. He describes himself with the greatest title that you can ever have, servant of Jesus Christ. And Jesus said, Jesus' title was servant of the Lord. So I think the way to think of ourselves is we are servants of the Lord. And so every day it's like, Lord, I'm here to serve you. When Jesus taught us to pray, your name be glorified. Psalm 115, verse 1, not to us, but to your great name give glory. It's not about us. That's why I think Sandy didn't want to be known as a leader, because it puts the focus on a person rather than on Jesus. And we are different from the world. And also, I've often said no one should want to be a leader because, there is a sense in which we have to lead. So I'm coming at it at a slightly different angle now, but nobody should make it their ambition to be a leader, because having an ambition to be a leader is like having an ambition to be famous. It's what's the point in being famous? But if you are going to achieve something, you may become famous, but fame is the cost of achieving things, and leadership is the cost of doing stuff. So you're passionate about youth, so you're ending up leading the youth. Mary Louise, you're passionate about Sweden and seeing the whole nation transformed. You're passionate about your church, so you have to end up leading, and that's the cost of doing what you're passionate about. So leadership is a byproduct, but we shouldn't focus on that. We should focus on what we're trying to achieve, not on. But having said that, if you do end up leading, then obviously you can learn stuff about leadership. And the best way to learn is from the example of others. I've learned the most about leadership from Sandy, because I've watched the way he leads. And it's very different from the world's model of leadership. But he leads with immense integrity and huge courage. And those things are, that's what I try. Those are the characteristics I strive for, is integrity and courage. And I think, if you look at the people who we admire, they are always people of integrity and people of courage, because that's so needed in our world. Increasingly, the world doesn't seem to value integrity. People just lie. You see in the secular world, leaders who think it's fine to lie. They don't need to tell the truth. And even in the church now, it's creeping in that if something is, pragmatic to do it, it doesn't matter if you have to be a little bit dishonest about it and pretend that what you're doing is lawful when it's not, according to... and that's not integrity. Yeah, I'd rather people said, I'm going to break the law. Let's be honest about it. But don't pretend you're not breaking... that there's happening, people are doing things against church law, but pretending that they're not. And that lacks integrity. And other people, we need courage to stand, because the church is not meant to follow the world. The temptation for the church is always to follow the world because it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Everyone in the culture thinks this is okay. Do you think it's okay? Well, no, actually, I don't. But I don't really want to say that because everyone in the world thinks it is okay. So that takes courage to stand against the world. And the church is meant to set a standard for the world, not just to follow the world. So integrity and courage, I think, are the things that I've seen in Sandy that I would love to emulate.
And how can you build that? I mean, how would you start?
I think everything. I think everything. Character. Everything in life is about. Nothing happens overnight. Fruit doesn't grow overnight. It grows over a process. Eugene Peterson used to talk about long obedience in the same direction. And I think we just have to keep going and also recognize that we mess up on the way. We fail. We're sinners. People say, oh, isn't there terrible things that happen in the church? Yeah, the church is made up of sinners. And bad things. It's not just the church that messes up. Everything messes up because where there are people, they're going to be sin. So we're all going to fail. We're all going to mess up. But we're on a journey. And we have to just seek to grow, become more loving, become more joyful, become more peaceful, more kind, more generous. And everything in life, I'm trying to learn to swim at the moment because I played squash every day till I was 64, and then I took up swimming about 3 or 4 years ago. And it's really complicated swimming, I've discovered. I've always been able to kind of swim. I can float, but to really swim well is so difficult. There's so many things you have to think about, but you have to practice. You just have to practice. And the only way, really, anything in life, to get good at things, you have to practice. You have to practice love. You have to practice kindness, practice integrity, practice courage, and hopefully we can grow in these things.
And just keep showing up, I would say.
Tack för att ni har lyssnat. Hoppas att ni gillade del 1 av vårt samtal med Nicky. Del 2 släpps alltså om en vecka. Och då kommer vi prata vidare om ledarskap. Och vill du lyssna på mer av Nyfikenpodden så finns alla våra tidigare avsnitt på Spotify och vi finns också på bild på YouTube om man hellre vill lyssna på det där. Så in och följ Alfa Sverige och vi hörs.